disagree more. I mean, it was a civilian population that turned the tide in the Revolutionary War against King George, where it was just farmers and storekeepers and blacksmiths. They weren't soldiers. So you can't underestimate the power of the people.
First, let me say me and Scoop are mutuals. We've had a decent amount of political conversations back and forth without the need to insult each other, and they've been really productive. Now, don't get me wrong. Just like me, if you come for Scoop, he will match your energy. But this is a polite political discussion, so let's keep the comments that way. I had to cut his video down for the sake of time, but it's right there if you want to watch the full thing. Secondly, let me say I'm not for disarming the population, but I am for using the well-regulated part of the Second Amendment. But to address the points in your video, it's not just our armed population that discourages foreign invaders. Our geographic location is another discouragement. Add into the fact our military defense budget has been pretty high since the founding of our country. But an armed population absolutely can be effective in an insurgency or repelling a foreign invader. But it's not just an armed population that does that. To use your example of the American Revolution, it wasn't just farmers and civilians. The American Revolution is a good example of a well put together insurgency, because that's what the American Revolution actually was. We founded this country as insurgents. And we can see other examples throughout history of insurgencies holding their own against a well-funded state. But like I said in that video, they're all state-sponsored insurgencies. And the American Revolution was no different. Our revolution was backed by France, Spain, and the Netherlands. And without them, we would still be a British colony to this day. France actually engaged in fighting with us against the British by securing our coastline. And later they actually sent troops in to engage in land warfare with the British. Spain sent us supplies and military equipment. And the Netherlands financed us through loans. And without that, we absolutely would have lost. Now, if our country turned tyrannical, truly tyrannical, not like what people like Misfit Patriot think it would be, our population could form an insurgency. And at the very beginning, it would do some damage. But without that outside support, it wouldn't be a long-term solution or win. In a truly tyrannical sense, we could get that outside support from a bunch of other countries. In Zach's idea of what tyrannical would be, they're not going to get that outside support. The only one they could actually probably secure would be Russia. But if we're looking at the foreign invader part, you're actually kind of right, and civilians would play a useful role in it, as long as they had the backing of a military force and a government's budget. We see that in the Civil War. In fact, it was one of the reasons why the NRA was actually first started, because people noticed that Confederate farmers shot better than Yankee soldiers. But again, I'm not for full disarmament of the population. But I am for the well-regulated part, so a guy can't go buy a gun and then do a mass shooting a few hours later. But I do enjoy these continued discussions, brother.